it's your words. You're just using my voice, God. I just pray that you get said things get said, it's your words at the end of the day. And I just pray that people leave here with peace and joy and love and just fulfillment from you, Lord. I ask all these things in your holy and precious name. Amen. Amen. Awesome. So, Olam is a Hebrew phrase that stands for the everlasting God or the eternal God. The word Olam, not Olam, just Olam, is really referenced in the Bible a lot, but it kind of stands for a long time, always, and forever. That's what Olam kind of stands for. Our everlasting God, Olam, knows a lot because he is God. That's just kind of hard to wrap your head around. But in Revelation 1-8, he says, I am the Alpha and the Omega, says the Lord God, who is, who was, and who is to come. So, I'm going to tackle this. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around something that is so big, and I get that. The everlasting God is the beginning, the end, everything in the middle, the I am and the to be. So, stick with me. We'll get through this together. I'll present the facts to you, maybe some tidbits of my sword. But the first instance we see of Olam is when Abraham puts this name on God to get just a glimpse into God's character. So that is in Genesis 21:33. So we'll be in 21 a lot. So if you want either on the new version or in your Bible, we'll be in 21, pretty much. But it says Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba and called there on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. Abraham plants a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, in the land of Canaan. So we'll get back to that. But this one verse is the heart of the passage. This part is going to get a little knowledge heavy, and I'm sorry, but it will make sense towards the end.
Oh yeah, pray it, sister.
Oh yeah, perfect. So just stay with me, and we got this, okay? So, we're going to back it up a little bit, okay? So the birth of Isaac, so the whole thing, was, going back to the beginning of Genesis 21, is the birth of Isaac. And what was the big deal with Isaac and Abraham? What was that whole thing? This is what waited a long time, sacrifice. Oh, I mean, you get there, but yeah. So, big thing about Isaac is that the birth of Isaac was fulfilling the promise. So, God made a promise to Abraham to make him into a great nation and bless his future generations. So that is in 12:1-3. And that is, now the Lord said to Abram, go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. And I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. So that's the generations. And then, obviously, the blessing of the son. So I will bless her, that's Sarah. And moreover, I will give you a son by her. I will bless her, and she shall become nations, kings of people that shall come from her. So, the birth of Isaac is like Abraham's whole mountain moment, okay? Birth of Isaac. Understand? Perfect. But brief mention of this, right before verse 33, Abraham has this argument with this ruler about some well. Okay, does anyone know what the significance of a well in Old Testament time meant? Go, Jack. Civilization. Any other ideas? Gathering place. Yes. Yep. So a well was seen as a huge deal by the people at the time. It showed a social hotspot, a lifeline for communities, and the spiritual significance was to represent God's abundant fountain of life. So when God told Abraham to leave his kindred and his past behind and trust him, the well has signified this trust because he has provided the well. He won that argument. So this is really Abraham's mountaintop moment. After this covenant was made, all the promises were basically fulfilled. The birth of Isaac and this well was given to him has shown and proven that God's promises are being fulfilled and that God's plans are unchanging. So he sees and trusts God, Abraham does, and Abraham trusted that future generations would come so much that he planted this tree. Now, this tree, I was looking it up, and I was thinking a giant tree. Okay? If you're going to plant a tree for multiple generations to see, what kind of tree are you expecting? Any ideas? Like a redwood tree, yeah. Or like a big oak tree, a sycamore tree, world trees. But I was kind of thinking specifically about this tree I had growing up. So it was at my Aunt Lynn's house, and me, my 2 sisters, and 7 of my cousins would annually climb this tree and take a picture in it. Apparently my family doesn't live in the 21st century, and I can't find this photo on Facebook anywhere. So, there's like 11 years of this photo being taken, and I can't find it. So, but you guys just have to trust me. So this tree is huge and was very significant in my generation. It was a good climbing tree, and I knew it was there for past generations because trees don't grow overnight. So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be a giant tree. It's going to be able to be climbable and fit like 10 people in it because it's huge. Well, turns out it looks more like a bush than anything. Yeah, look at that. That's a lame tree, okay? I'm not a tree expert, but that's a lame tree, okay? It's lame, okay? But, and also it's in the desert, okay? So, it's a lame tree, okay? So this famous tree, I'm like, okay, so why are we planting this tree? Why this one? Well, one, again, we're in the desert, and it's one of the only forms of life that can grow in the desert, but that's neither here nor there. But this tree also has characteristics of it's slow growing and must be cared for. Abraham plants a tree in a land that is not his own, and it's slow growing, so he'll never see it, and it must be cared for. Again, in a land that's not his. Who's going to take care of this tree that is slow growing and needs people? I think God's good at his promises. So it does work. He plants the tree and it grows. We see this in Joshua 21:43 through 45 of people settling in this land where this tree was planted. So, thus the Lord gave to Israel all the land that he swore to give their fathers. And they took possession of it and they settled there. And the Lord gave them rest on every side just as he had sworn to their fathers. Not one of all their enemies had withstood them, for the Lord had given all their enemies into their hands. Not one word of all the good promises that the Lord had made to the house of Israel has failed. All came to pass. So this tree signifies that. Okay. Perfect. Okay. We've kind of gone past all the heavy stuff. So you guys made it. But when we look through the Bible, we see the Israelites holding on to the story of Abraham. So we see Abraham's promises being fulfilled, and they're like, oh, we trust Abraham's faith, so we can do this. So in a book I was reading over the summer, thanks to Ben Locke, it's called The Land Between. And in the chapter, The Journey of Trust, he writes, as they, the Israelites, left Egypt and journeyed into the wilderness, the Israelites carried with them a legacy of God's care and provision for Abraham, and a legacy of Abraham's faith. Abraham trusted God with his whole heart and put his faith in something that he would never see. And so because he did this, future generations can see this and trust Abraham because of his faith. Are you willing to let go of momentary satisfaction for eternal gain? So, Abraham trusted that he'll never see something fully put together. But he trusted that future generations would hold on to that. So, I think that's very encouraging. So, that was the first part of the other side of the Olam, this everlasting God is the birth of Isaac. It's this mountaintop moment of Abraham's faithfulness and security. Promises are being fulfilled. Yippee skippy, okay? Abraham did the thing. God did the thing, okay? Now we literally go to the next verse after 21:33, and this next section is gratefully titled "The Sacrifice of Isaac." I highly recommend reading this on your own if you haven't, but we're gonna spark notes it. So, God tells Abraham, "Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains of which I shall tell you." So Abraham takes Isaac. Isaac's like, "Hey Dad, where are we going? You said we're going to go to an altar and sacrifice something. Where's the sacrifice?" So Isaac's like, "Okay." And Abraham's like, don't worry. Even though Abraham says probably it's the speed has increased by 100% and talking's decreased by 50. And Abraham's just like, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. God has a way. And sure enough, he gets tied to the altar, goes to kill Isaac. I know, very glory. This is the Old Testament. Welcome. And God's like, oh wait, no, stop. And then a ram appears. So that's the spark notes of it. God makes a lamb prepare to show that he will make a way and prepare a sacrifice. Foreshadowing to the New Testament. We'll get there. Anywho, I do not believe that it was an accident that the writers of the Old Testament put the birth of Isaac and the sacrifice of Isaac, and then put the everlasting God in the middle of it. If you really get into the Old Testament, you can see that this happens literally everywhere, where they put the heart of the passage in the middle of the passage. Eastern writers did not care about chronological order like Westerners do. So, my question is, why? Why is the everlasting God in between a mountaintop moment and a low moment? Abraham at the beginning is being asked to let go of his past. Now God is asking him to let go of his future. He's eternal and everlasting. He holds both of those in his hands and asking Abraham to let go of both. Trusting God when Abraham is told to sacrifice is trusting God in more than the promise, because he will be there in the past, the present, and the future. The present and the future. So, why are they in between? Why is this in between? This sacrifice, this birth and this sacrifice is not just any death. It's a sacrifice of your only son who you love. This is foreshadowing to, this is my son who I am well pleased, in Matthew 17:5, who then proceeds to be sacrificed on a cross for all of us, for our future and our present, because of our past. So, in between these contrasting stories, Old Testament writers put Olam, the everlasting God, the eternal God, forever and always, in between life and death, my life and death, so he can work through me. Olam has been everywhere in the Garden of Eden to you and me, sitting right now. Abraham mentions Olam, and we see it in Isaiah 9:6 as a foretelling of Jesus' birth and who he will be. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Jesus then later tells the scribes about his everlastingness by mentioning, before Abraham, I am. So the Jews said to him, you are not yet 50 years old, and have seen Abraham? Jesus said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. Not great grammar, He has been the beginning and the end. This has always been encouraging for me because he holds my past and he holds my future. But, he is the same God that split the seas, destroyed cities, the one who rescues, the one who goes and saves, the one who goes and encourages, is doing the same things for me right now. Are your eyes open to see that same exact God right now? Or is your head in the past and the future and not the present? He's already got those. Don't have to really worry about them. I know I have struggled to be in the present. I've been caught up in the past. I've been caught up in the future. The majority of my story is just wanting something that's lasting. And whether that's me holding on to that past and holding on to that future, or is it me chasing something that I hope can give me a satisfaction? Whether that is a substance or music, friends, boys, or even family members. I've always just want to hold on to them until I can't anymore. And I hate to be the one to break it to you, but those things are not lasting. Things can be lost in an instant. I mean, you hold on to something so tightly, putting your eternal hope into it, things kind of get soul crushing. A little bit about my story. In 2021, I lost my mom to breast cancer. So that was, my mom was something I hold on to. She was my person. She had my eternal hope. I obviously know where to put my eternal hope now. But it was kind of soul crushing when I lost her. Maya can attest, she was there through it all. And I know it sounds cheesy to be like, yeah, after my mom passed, I found God. Perfect. Boom, cut, straight. But it's more of, my mom was so set on a person, Jesus, and loved him more than she loved her kids, more than she loved her relationship, before she loved her family, before she loved her mom, before she loved anyone. And I wanted to know why. I was like, how can someone love someone so much that they're willing to put everything in? My mom had similar ups and downs in my life. Genetics, we make the same mistakes as our parents. It's just how it is. But when I look back on my 2 decades of living, it's weird to say that, I'm only 20, that I have lived, I have seen the same thing. And what's really magical and so mysterious is that God was there. God was constant. That's like my word for God, is that he is constant. Also because I'm a math major, constants are different. Natalie's got me, she understands. But I can hold on to the same God that was there with Moses when he was like, I can't speak in front of people. Why are you choosing me? Is choosing me right now and is walking with me in 2024. That is why I hold on to the everlasting God. Adam has this little quote, and Ben mentioned it Sunday, so if you were here Sunday, you would have heard it, but it says, God not only cares about our souls, but about our whole being. God not only cares about where we spend eternity, but also our day-to-day life already, happening within the bounds of eternity. So, I know, sometimes in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm saved. God doesn't need to worry about me until my deathbed. I'm okay over here. And keep walking. But no, God really wants to walk with me like he did in the garden. He wants to know about my day-to-day. He wants to know about the annoying people in the office of admissions. He wants to know about my problems. He wants to know about my grades. He wants to hear about my 21st century problems. But that's encouraging. And that's enough for me to know that he wants to be with me forever. So from everlasting to everlasting, God has been the same. Like I said before, it is crazy to think about the same God that was there for Abraham, David, Jeremiah, and so. Bring up the genealogy of Jesus. It's really long. Believing in the same God that I do. Sometimes I feel foolish in believing in something that I can't completely understand. That is something I've had to work on. You might have had to work on it too, but sometimes it feels foolish walking in a world where people are like, you need to know all of the facts. But, hey, I'm hardwired to be a skeptic, but like my good friend always says, if you knew everything about God, there would be no need for faith. So, to close this out, I'm going to say a few verses from Psalm 90, which is conveniently called From Everlasting to Everlasting. Lord, you have been our dwelling place in all generations. Before the mountains were brought forth, or ever you had formed the earth and the world, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. Hey God, thank you just for this amazing opportunity and just being able to share your grace and your love and your peace, Lord. I pray for the connection groups that are about to happen, good conversation. I pray that there's good community and just love and grace throughout. And Lord, I pray that we remember you are with us from day to day and throughout all of eternity.